Okay.
Attention, please.
Yo. 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 Yo.
Welcome to your Inspirational Astrology Horoscope for this weekend of December 21st through the 22nd, 2024. I'm Astrologer Dave Palmer, the Leo King, here to illuminate the collective consciousness. Well, thanks so much for being a part of HighVibe.tv. Truly appreciate it. Happy holidays to all of you out there. We have a big solstice today, of course, happening, and big week, of course, with Christmas and so forth. Definitely appreciate all the support, especially that Mars Retrograde video that I did, or the X Moment video. I will be planning and bringing out this week coming up here about my 2025 special that I will be doing. And of course, also when I get back from Christmas on the 26th, which is going to be Thursday, I'll be doing the sun sign horoscopes because I covered them all the way till the 26th. So I appreciate you all very much. I'm looking forward to this new year and a new energy for High Vibe, myself, and just being able to catch up on stuff and start to get this place turning. It's been quite the Pluto Opposition, to say the least. See where we're at. The astrology for the solstice energy. Remember, we're in the solstice. The sun has now made it to 0 degree of Capricorn this weekend. It's happening at 1 a.m. Pacific. It's around that time, 1:20 a.m. Pacific. 4:20 a.m. Eastern. We are at that very interesting solstice, the one that's on the Southern Cross, the one that literally brings us to the longest nights and the shortest days. But also at the same time, if you're on the Southern Hemisphere, it's opposite. Of course, it's your summer, but we have now moved into a new season, and it's Capricorn. And this is the first time in 16 years we have seen the sun come into Capricorn with nothing in Capricorn. Nothing. Nope. No more Pluto. So, I feel like this is going to be a much better solstice, but this is the solstice chart, and I'm not going to be using it by house, just by understanding where the planets are at. Mars retrograde opposite Pluto still. This is going to be coming at the very beginning, right after New Year's Day. That's when it's going to hit. So just remember, we're on the 21st right now. We're 10 days away from Mars to retrograde and make its big opposition to Pluto, and then ingress into Cancer. So this Mars Leo energy with the sun being in Capricorn, it's kind of a signal of us being like, we are moving into this whole new chapter, but we're not there yet because the sun has to cross Pluto in Aquarius. Think about that. And that's going to be the theme of the whole next 6 months till the next solstice, right? Because if you think about it, in this next 6 months, there's going to be the biggest amount of astrology we've seen in our lives. All right? Especially if you've watched my X Moment special video, which would be the best thing that you can do to help out in High Vibe is purchase that video. I go way deep into what's happening and those transits, or even the Mars retrograde video to understand this is the biggest astrology coming in our lives. So this is that marker point that's saying, what's happening in this next 6 months? Well, a lot of it's already being shown. The Saturn and Jupiter square is something we're going to have to pay very close attention to, because when we come back Monday from the weekend, that Jupiter-Saturn square coming into Christmas Eve on the 24th, Tuesday. Exact. And it's this weekend where we come into Capricorn, it shifts the energy, and we look at Saturn, it's in Pisces, right? So even though Pluto's not there, the sun's coming in and being like, well, Saturn's not in a strength position anymore, but it also is in square to Jupiter. So it's having to defend off the bigger planet, but it is the direct one. And this Saturn in Pisces, interesting place for it to be because it is in this big square to Jupiter. And this is the second square that's starting to build and will be the third not in these signs. So there's the understanding that Saturn's going to be ingressing into Aries, by the next equinox, which is coming up in the next seasons that change here, right? And then, of course, watching Jupiter, knowing, oh, it'll station direct in this cycle that we're going through, and Mars is going to be here for a long time, right? But we will see Mars back in Leo on the next solstice, which is kind of crazy. Or it'll actually be just left. So that's how long this Mars retrograde is going to be, as far as trying to get out of Leo into Cancer and out of Cancer back into Leo and into Virgo. It's going to take a long time where the moon's at. So there's a lot about this chart where you can read. Plus Mercury still only at 8.5 degrees. We will see by the end of this weekend, Mercury finally get to the at least almost 3 degrees away from where it's stationed direct, right? It went stationed direct there at 6 and 20 minutes, something like that. And here it is 3 degrees up. And so we can start to feel Mercury starting to move this weekend. And so it will feel a lot easier energy, and it won't feel as chaotic as the last month has felt of being in Sag, because Mercury went retrograde in Sag and Jupiter's retrograde in Gemini, and the mutual reception and so forth, and the oppositions, and more importantly, the detriment placements of Mercury and Jupiter in these signs have made it chaotic, to say the least, with Saturn in square. But this weekend, we have to remember this moon in Virgo is going to be very activated, especially during the solstice. During the solstice here, because that moon is going to exactly oppose Saturn. And so that means this next 6 months, very difficult emotionally, and the situations are going to take some extra, to say the least, understanding of how we deal with our emotions and our sensitivities, and what is the decision that you can make, and the authority that you're going to take within yourself, making sure you're not backtracking, make sure you're staying in reality, and making sure that you're not trying to escape and still deal with heavier emotional situations. But that moon in Virgo all weekend, up until we get to Sunday at least, we see it move into Libra, where we are going to see that moon and the sun make their big 3/4 square. Remember, when the sun was just Friday in Sag, the moon was in Virgo, so it was about to 3/4 square, and then there was this pause day, Saturday, and then Sunday, it's cardinal energy, and the moon's there, and we're making a 3/4, waning square here, and it's on the nodes. And so this is also the sun this weekend starting to square the nodes, and so we come into this very Capricorn energy without Pluto, and being like, what decisions, or where are things going? And it's like, one, let go of the obsessiveness that you've been used to for 16 years of always needing to know how the system works or what choice to make. But we always have to remember to be adults, make choices, stay on top of things as best as we can. But having Pluto gone makes the obsession go away. And that's a good thing. And also the transformation, right? It's like sometimes we have to go too far, or sometimes we didn't do enough. Right? So if you didn't build the big business that you love and you hate your job, right? It's like you didn't use Pluto and Capricorn, right? To kind of actually pull you into it. But that doesn't mean you still can't. We have to remember though that, with Mercury that's finally starting to move here, the moon that's going to leave Virgo and oppose Neptune, make this big Saturn, Jupiter square energy in opposition and form that T-square to Jupiter. There's a lot of all over the place energy about Saturday, and then it's Sunday where it does start to cardinal itself out and start to find some sort of direction here. But remember, it's Mars retrograde, and so this Mars trying to understand what's going to be the happiness, the strength that we do, the identification, the more forward directing energy that we want to move towards, but it's going backwards. So we're somewhat retreating, and there's that Pluto opposition that's mounting, that there's something underneath that's going to shift our lives. We just don't understand what it might be. So don't get too caught up in the fear of that. This Capricorn energy can't control everything. So the square to the North Node in Aries, having a plan might not necessarily exactly go the way you think it is, and having the perfect plan, especially South Node with the moon in Libra, is not ever going to work in this moment, right? So there is no perfect plan. There is no everything will go exactly the way you want to plan-wise, or even the way you want to. There's delays, Capricorn rules, or even obstacles, and then Aries is I want, and Mars is retrograde. But the good thing Mars is still in that trine to the North Node, but it is the dispositing energy, so it is this kind of weird place for this North Node Aries. It's getting Neptune coming towards it. It's got Saturn coming towards it, right? There's going to be this two big planets conjunct the North Node here in this next 6-month solstice pattern too, right? So there is this like massive event, the world, our own lives, that we still are trying to understand, but this Capricorn energy is going to start to actually ground itself here. And without Pluto there, not be so obsessed, but at the same time, it's going to feel different, right? It's going to kind of bring you back to how you were able to kind of roll through life a little bit easier and kind of take on serious things when they matter instead of like overly taking on things too seriously, right? Like go back 16 years, you know, there was a way that you kind of rolled through life a little bit easier and did Capricorn when necessary, opposed to doing it every day. And I think that's going to be the lesson of this weekend, remembering that there is no perfect way that things go, except imperfect is perfect. And more importantly, plans never do fully work. They always are better when they do kind of disperse and change a little bit because we get a better perspective. And I think that the perspective aspect of things is still playing out extreme. But the hearsay or the possibilities or the probabilities, I'd rather say than possibilities, even though there's many possibilities right now on the table in your life, but the probabilities, running them too much in your head can create a lot of stress. This Mercury is been here for the third time, and we are about to see it, especially if you watch Deep Astrology, how it's bringing up all the way going back to the beginning of November. Then, of course, the beginning of December, when Mars retrograded around that time, and then now it's bringing up all those periods of, you know, what's been the theme here, and it's more about the theme of the story and is it true or not. So, you know, instead of answering that, it's about questioning and waiting for the facts to reveal themselves, which maybe some might reveal themselves, but I feel like we have to get more into next week for them to really start to be revealed here. And especially once we see this sun fully square the nodes on Monday. And of course, at the same time, we have that Venus that's now done with, of course, the trine to Jupiter. And we have that Saturn-Jupiter square that we are entering into. That is the second one. And it's, remember, we're not going to get the big thing we want, and we're not going to, Jupiter's at least helping us make sure that it's not going to be the end of the world or something in our lives, or totally tank. So it's kind of somewhere in the middle. And I think everything in life, taking the temperature down in other areas where it's too cold, bringing it up enough and finding that nice balance and that nice place, but also not always checking the thermometer. I mean, like, and the thermostat, do I need to change it? Like, just find where it's pretty good temp in your life. Stay on top of things, stay on point. Don't freak out about things. Don't get too caught up and it has to be this way. The mission has to be this way. My plan, like, this is us also removing this kind of obsessive part of our evolution, right? That taught us a lot, but it no longer is necessary to be obsessed about planning. It's no longer obsessive about goal reaching. I'm not saying that you still can't be goal reaching. I'm talking about the obsession. But with Pluto in Aquarius, you know, this moon and the South Node is starting to trine that Pluto, right? So the idea is the freedom to find peace instead of that freedom to, you know, define correctly, you know, what to embody as a self. And so I think that, you know, it can be a little bit cautionary tale of like believing in this is the peaceful resolution that I will find in my life without you looking at yourself first. It's not external. It's not the person. It's not the thing. It's not the job. It's not the whatever. It's the you have to embody first. Good example would be like if you're dealing with anxiety, before you're starting to, well, if I change my environment, I get a new home, I'll have less anxiety. No, you need to get the anxiety figured out first. Is it the relationship? Well, have you figured your own shit out first? Is it this? Oh, you got to figure some of your shit out first. It's all coming back to you and how you deal with things and the responsibility and the accountability that you have to have within yourself. And that Mars retrograde in Leo is saying, with the opposition of Pluto, in order for you to find these extreme solutions you're obsessed with finding that are crazy, to say the least, of how it's going to happen, you got to be good with yourself, confident in yourself, and you have to love yourself fully. And you can't keep doing things that always are putting on the outside that it's acting weird, it's different, and all that stuff. You got to do a lot of this inner work. So it is the responsibility of the inner work that is going to be your key, especially with Saturn and Pisces and being disposited by the sun being in Capricorn on a basic level too. And so even though, I mean, on Deep Astrology, you'll see it's a very extreme weekend, but I am just trying to help people as they go through this weekend. Remember, next week's really crazy, and we've already been through crazy time, but this definitely is a minor breather, and it's not full breather either. So it's one of those, just enough to make us feel like we do shift the energy. And I would say there is the major part of the overall understanding of us getting out of Sag being kind of over or too much, or the energy just isn't stopping, where Saturn is a clear stop sign about things. So it will stop some energy in your life, but it will also ask you to start paying attention to where the energy is leading us towards, and start to either see if you're going to mount your destined horse on that route, and making sure that you're paying attention to your emotions and not just focusing on this kind of illusional like beauty path that you think is destined, when it's much more getting more realistic and letting go of the perfect idea of what you think is perfect. That is destined, right? Like the idea of destiny should feel and look like this. It's like, well, it's more of the aesthetic, I think, that you're focused on, not the actual destiny. Destiny feels when it's aligned, not by aesthetics. It feels aligned because you could be homeless, and finally it feels like the universe finally dropped the moment that changed you from being homelessness. And it's not even at that moment, but it's the moment to the moment. Right now, these are a lot of moments to moments that come up, and we have to remember that there's tons of moments, that the moments that are happening now we'll be able to piece together along the way. And I think right now trying to piece together moments that haven't shown up yet is kind of wasting your energy, time, and everything. This is also, remember, this is the week of it will never be the same. So remembering the world, the way that you've been living, there's a part of you that the accountability is allowing that old part of you to die. And also the transformation of your destiny now is like already kicked you to this place. And it's that accountability, like, hey, you don't need to keep reflecting back on what choices you made and so forth. It's about what now, and where is that going to go now, and not also having the overall like obsessive of I need to understand it all right now. Like, okay, I'm here, accepting that I'm here, and that it will never be the same, right? So that in many ways that means that we've kind of already arrived, but in many ways the lobby's got us here. This is us sitting at the show, and also, is the curtains opening yet? And what's behind the curtains? And how many characters? And when is it over? Stop getting into that. Remember, divine timing's everything. Capricorn's about that. And without Pluto there, we're not so obsessed with almost kind of forcing it to be what feels like divine timing and thinking it is. True divine timing is nothing that is forced. True divine timing also is a lot more subtle. And it's about whether or not you are able to be conscious of that and see that makes it so powerful, right? It's not something that has to feel powerful right away. It's powerful because it's arrived, and whether you accept it or not in life, right? And it's not something that you make internally. It's always something that arrives to you. A thought arrives to you, a person, a situation, right? It's not that you just out of nowhere, right? Like, do you control your thoughts? No. All right. What do we got? I'm interested to see what we got. Oh, we got 4 cups reversed. I mean, this is where it's like maybe we're a little down in the dumps because we wish there was something that the universe, God, would just show up with that would make things easier. But I think it's more like maybe there is, that you're just not seeing it. Let's see what we got here is the other card. Oh, the Page of Cups reversed. So I think this is going to be very important to keep your positive attitude, especially about when you're communicating emotionally right now, and not, you need to watch how your mental, emotional level is, because it's almost kind of being tricked by this place of like, you're not seeing the gifts God's bringing, you're seeing the lack of it, but it could be right in front of you, and that could shift your whole more positive disposition, placement of life, ideas, communication style, and even your overall outlook on things. And I think it's important to stay light, positive, and fun, and see where the gifts are that maybe you haven't been looking at, because they're right there. I appreciate you all very much. I hope that you have beginnings to a good holiday weekend. Of course, this week coming up will be holiday, but you will see me here Monday, and I'll be here Tuesday, and I will be back Thursday and so forth. So I'm just taking off Christmas Day and parts of Christmas Eve. But I appreciate you all. I will see you all on Monday. Much love. Have a good weekend. Stay positive. Don't get caught up in that crazy shit. Bye-bye.
Attention, please.
Yo. Okay.
Attention, please.